All right. We are live. So we'll give a few minutes for people to join in. I think your screen might have froze a bit.
Hold on. I'm glitching from my side.
Okay. And let's see. Okay. So welcome everybody as you're coming into our exciting live that we have for you today. Yeah, it's a good one. So I want to encourage everybody who's watching this that whether or not you are suffering from diabetic foot ulcers or just neuropathy, nerve pain in your feet, share it with the people that you know that are diabetics, because diabetic for diabetics, this topic right here is very serious and very real, in the sense that it could happen to anyone who has diabetes. As a physician assistant, I have many patients who would have never thought they were going to lose toes or limbs, not just toes but feet or their whole leg, to diabetes. And I think we just might have lost our guest, but let's see if she can jump back on. While she's jumping back on, let's see. Yeah, it looks like she had poor network connection. But we have a guest that is going to join us tonight and share an amazing case study on the power of natural healing for diabetic foot ulcers. Oh, I got to let her in. I think you're back. All right, there she is. Right. So yeah, if that happens again, we'll just pull you back in. All right. So it's about 2 minutes into our live. We'll obviously wait a few minutes to let people come in. But I'm going to introduce our guest speaker for the night real soon. But before that, Kitran, I don't know if you knew this, but when I went to PA school, I didn't know anything about diabetes, obviously, right? And I'm sure you didn't know much about diabetes when you went to your lifestyle center program to train, did you?
No. Not one idea. Except that family members had it.
Yeah, you knew that family members had it. But one thing you will learn for sure is that diabetes is a disease that you should not take lightly. And I think one of the most visual aspects of this condition is when people lose their limbs. When I was in West Virginia training there, beginning my education as a PA, I've told this story before, so sorry if you heard it already. But I've noticed in the city of Charleston, there was a lot of people in wheelchairs that had limbs amputated. And I was talking to a Charleston native, and I was saying, wow, there's a lot of veterans in this city. A lot of people really must be veterans in West Virginia. But they said, no, Lewis, those people you see that have amputated limbs and legs are not veterans, they're diabetics. And I mean, literally every street I would see someone in a wheelchair, someone amputated with an amputated limb. And so I just shook my hand. Of course, as I continued my education, I learned that the leading cause of adult limb amputations is diabetes. So this is something that everyone who is a diabetic or who knows a diabetic should make themselves aware of, right? So obviously now there is a disclaimer.
Okay. A heavy one.
A heavy one, right? Get you an heavy one. We're going to be showing pictures of our patient. We'll be calling her name Jane, of her feet. Okay. And they are quite graphic. We're going to reserve them to the end of the live. So if you have a weak stomach, if you have, just, I guess, let the people be warned, right, Kitrian?
Yes, properly warned.
Properly warned. They're quite graphic as we show you the progression and the deterioration of the tissue that was caused by diabetes. But how about we start off with Kitrian, you telling us about your ministry, what End Time Ministries is. That's the name of the ministry that you currently are working for, where you're located, and tell us about what you guys do. Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy to be actually working for this ministry. It's actually a non-profit ministry called End Time Ministry. And our sole purpose and goal is to aware folks of being healthy. And we do it not just within our various churches, but as well in the community. Because when you learn to take care of yourself, your community benefits from that. People don't think about it. They think, you're being healthy just for you. No, your community thrives off of you as well being healthy, because that means more hands to assist. And so our main goal is to aware people that being healthy is the right choice, and it opens doors for various stuff. And so we do that through whether it's cooking classes or giving hydrotherapies or even having consultations with various persons on getting them back to the health that they deserve. That's right. What we do here on the beautiful island of Aruba.
Yes, good. And you guys are a Christian based ministry, a faith-based ministry?
Yes, we are a faith-based ministry.
Okay, awesome. And that's something we in Diabetes 180 we very much believe in as well, the power of not just healing the body but also the spirit through faith, and so you can reach basically the 3 dimensions of our being. So how did you meet our patient today, our case study, Jane? How did you meet her?
Jane's story is, even Jane getting to us is only God's doing. I was doing a consultation with my partner, and we're sitting down together and we're going over this consultation with the person, and my phone is ringing. Now it's on vibrate, but I'm hearing it. So I look at the caller ID and I see it's my mom. So I decline the call. She calls again. I decline the call because I'm in a consultation. I'm not going to walk out. But then she calls a third time. And I said, okay, something must be wrong. And I go outside. I answer the phone. I said, everything's all right. You okay? What's going on? And she said, you know what? I have a colleague who's telling me about another colleague that the doctors are now telling her she's about to lose her leg. I said, okay. And she said, so they believe that God could do something through this ministry for this lady, for Jean. And I said, wow, these people have high hopes. This lady is losing her leg, and they believe that we could help this process. And I want to mention that because through Jane's story, it has expanded my faith much more. I think it was small as a mustard seed. I think my plant is now growing and blossoming nicely.
Awesome.
So that's how we got Jane. So my mom said, when I come home, we're going to see Jane. And so she comes home indeed. And you want to know a cool story? Today marks 2 years and 2 months since I've met Jane.
Jane, amazing. And before you go further, Kitrian, I want to make sure that people know how serious her state was before she turned herself to you, and while she was in the care of her doctors. And before we say that, I want to make sure that we're highlighting another very important point. There's a lot of things you can learn from this case study. Always seek medical advice. Always seek medical advice. Okay, even if you want to go the natural route of healing, I think doctors, your podiatrists, healthcare workers, specialists can all be a part of your team, even when you're taking natural courses to heal the body. See it as a team, and your medical professionals are great resources to rely on. But in Jane's case, she did not want to go that route because the doctor told her.
So we reached to Jane, and now Jane has to tell me the entire story because I don't know what's going on. The situation, I just know they're going to go with her leg. Okay, why they're going with her leg is what I had to go and find out.
Yeah.
So we reach, and Jane tells the whole story. It started out by a small cut underneath the small toe. And obviously, if you're not well aware of how diabetes actually works, you have sometimes the difficulty of having that wound to actually close properly or quickly like it would need to, because of the different impairments within the body. So Jane assumed that she was taking care of this wound properly and still working on it. And it got infected to the point that it was so infected and they were trying everything that it wasn't working. So they turned to the doctors, because you try stuff at home. You try to figure it out. Maybe what can I do to help the process? And so she goes to the doctor. They see this foot and they are in, I guess, dare me say, an immediate panic. This lady is walking on something that is dangerous. And we found out later on, I think it was precisely almost a year later, that they had told her she had entered into the stage of sepsis. She didn't tell me that at the time.
Wow.
That story wasn't shared until later. But they saw how serious the case was, and they wanted to help her out. But they told her, we got to go with the entire leg. And she said, no, why are you going with the entire thing when it has to just deal with my toes? And they said, no, it's this way that it has to go. And so they wait for her husband, and they're telling him the same story. And both husband and wife come to the conclusion, if death is her lot, because she now has gangrene and the entire foot have to go, then we would choose that death be the lot with both her feet or foot, and we're going home. And they said, then you got to sign that paper, because we offered you the help, you're not taking it. But the choice was the entire leg, not just let's take off the toes or where the infected part is. And that's how we entered into Jane's life.
Oh. So she said she would rather die than lose that leg, essentially. Yeah. And that's when the doctor said, okay, well, sign your release, that we have warned you. And I think the doctor was very strict, very direct in telling her, making sure she knew. I think you even said that she said something to the effect that, you will die if you don't get this operation, this surgery.
He did. Yeah. He did. Yeah. He told her that, not just the doctors, but even the workplace. I don't know how it would be called in other systems, but if you go on a sick leave, even the department that checks that out told her, you've refused the doctor's help, and we are looking at the foot with the doctors that are working here, and you're not going to survive 2 weeks. You're going to be dead before then.
And anyone who's in the medical field knows that when you're talking to someone's being septic, yeah, they don't have much longer to live if there's no intervention. Right. So there were, and again, we said this in the beginning, I'm gonna say this again. Take your doctor's advice. This is not an interview to tell you, well, if your doctor tells you that you need to amputate, then come talk to Adrienne, right?
No, don't do that. Listen to what the doctor has to say. Yes.
But this was a person that did not want to go that route. They wanted to see, which is everyone's right. It's everyone's right, to choose what medical intervention they want to take. So tell me how bad was it when you saw it?
So when I saw it, I'll be very honest with you, because it was a learning experience. As was mentioned, I attended Wildwood College of Health Evangelism, and we learn to do medical missionary work. So you see the different cases, you see, how serious it could get. And you look at it and you're like, I ain't gonna face this anywhere in my field. I'll get to the people who just want to get healthy and how to maintain their diets. One thing our ministry here strongly believes, prevention is better than cure. So my mind was, we're going to help people prevent disease before it gets to that point. However, this wasn't the case with this lady. And the fact is we ought to acknowledge that not everyone knows how to take care of themselves properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a wound that should have properly been taken care of didn't get that attention. And
Yeah.
that's where we're at with the gangrene. And now a student, I would dare say, fresh off the block, and this is my first intense case.
Yeah.
I went to God. What do I do, Father? So we prayed. I came back. I spoke to my partner, and we assessed the case. And we said, okay, we're going to start applying poultices to the feet. But we also got in contact with the podiatrist who lives in the States that is a good friend to the ministry. And we got some advice from him on how to go by treating this foot, along with Maymon Wilson, who works in the natural department, since she wasn't going to go the medical route with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we actually started to deal with that foot.
Very good. So the first step was, of course, seek the advice of those who've gone before you, right? And
yes.
So and again, you still had a podiatrist to help you through this whole process of healing. So I know that people want to know, what did you do, right? How did it work? And again, we're going to show the pictures. Okay, we're going to show the progression of the basically going from gangrene, totally complete, almost completely 100% foot that was gangrenous, and to the point where. Yeah, you could see why the doctor said they need to amputate. Yeah.
Right. So the first thing we did was actually apply a poultice of a charcoal and cayenne on the area that was infected.
For those who don't know what a poultice is, can you explain what that is?
Sure. So a poultice is basically a powder substitute of any powder. Well, shouldn't say any powder. On this poultice, we used charcoal powder.
Okay.
Now, the properties of charcoal is to help detox or pull away any toxins from whatever area is infected, both in the inside and on the outside. And so in this case, I should say the first thing we did was changed her diet immediately, that same day.
Okay.
Fish, chicken, whatever canned items, sugars, all of refined products out of the diet.
Okay.
Which she agreed to, because now she wants the help. And I want to emphasize on she agreed. So she was very compliant with doing what was asked of her so that she could receive the blessing of healing.
Yes.
And
so that was change of diet for sure.
Change of diet.
Okay.
After the change of diet, she went on an immediate 3-day detox.
Okay. Describe the detox.
So for her, we had her actually fasting and juicing. So we made green juices, which would be later on after a 3-day of charcoal in the morning, every morning for those 3 days.
Days you drink charcoal. Good evening, show love, Mouton. Yeah. Yes. Anybody who's watching, you want to, I forgot to do that this time around. Usually we ask everybody to tell us where you're calling from. So yeah, let us know. Let this be a group conversation. If you have questions, I should say, put them in the chat. Let us know where you call from. But yeah, so you started off with fasting with green juices.
Green juices and the charcoal in the morning as soon as she wake up. So that whatever is going on inside, that we start pulling out whatever it is, because detoxify the body, because guess what, healing starts from the inside out. So to get proper results on the foot, we have to deal first with what is going on the inside. So detox is more than in its place, and obviously with the change of diet, that means we are looking for quality food to give quality blood, which would then bring quality healing.
What is that quality food?
A plant-based diet in this case.
Diet. So a diet without meat, dairy, eggs, cheese.
Yes, no refined products.
No refined products, sugar. Yeah. Okay. So she went vegan, plant-based vegan, meaning minimizing processed foods. Yes. And started to go through a period of fasting. Green juices. Does it matter what kind of green juice it is?
We had her on green juices that would have helped cleanse the blood. And forgive me for not being able to mention it, because we are a team. So we had one person doing.
You didn't make the juices yourself?
Not all the juices. I did make her juices because she juiced. If I'm not mistaken, we juiced with her a year and a half.
Wow.
So she would receive juices to continuously maintain the inside while we worked with the outside.
Mhm.
And I must say, her community did come out to support her. And so we had a sister from her church which was providing her with food, a box of food. So she didn't have to actually be on the foot or anything, because the less she was on the foot, the better it was for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So she had green juices. I know for sure they were of the dark leafy greens for sure.
Okay.
And to that we were adding different supplements.
I'm trying to put notes because I'm learning this a lot too. I'm taking notes.
Take your notes. Take your notes.
Yeah. All right. So, and, just to pause and greet Patricia. Thanks for tuning from DC. And yes, this will be available for replay. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's the route we took with her. So once we adjusted her diet, started the detox, then the outside work was really up to us. You know, what would we be putting on? So we're looking at stuff that, and you would see in the pictures later on. Hopefully you all could stomach it, because it's amazing to see how the body actually healed itself. It brings me to that verse, dare me say, Psalms 139 verse 14, where David was in awe of God, and he said, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works.
That my soul knows right well. And let me say this too, guys. I mean, we're getting excited about this because we know this lady should have lost her life. I mean, and yes, I saw pictures. I mean, you were even consulting with me at a point because you wanted to know. Yeah. So someone asked a good question. I'm gonna address that. I see you. But what I was gonna say, but yeah, as the body actually heals itself, it's gonna push away all that is dead, and that's actually what happened, quite literally.
Literally.
Anyway, so, wow. Someone asked, "Is fruit in the detox?"
So we did a switch up on her fruits. We moved to the less sweeter fruits, so she was more on blueberries and strawberries, more of the acidic side of fruits. She did have fruits in her diet, but on the more acidic side, because she is also a diabetic, and because we had just done the change, that's the route we chose to go with her.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because of course you were going with fruits on the low glycemic level, because this is a person who is in an extreme state of health, in a deteriorated state of health. One thing we always teach our people in Diabetes 180 is that all fruits are okay for diabetics, but it takes time to get your body sensitive to them, because you've developed insulin resistance. We're not going to go into the details of that, but in this case, you wanted to make sure that you got your sugars down to safe levels as fast as possible. So you went with the low glycemic fruits. Yeah.
Yes, and we had her checking her sugars every day. And we saw the difference. I don't hold me to it, but I believe within 2 weeks we were seeing some quite normal range of sugar for morning, and which just proved that the diet was working, but it was also working on the outside of the foot as well.
Okay.
So that's the route we took. So a change of diet, detoxing, green juices, as well as juices to cater to the healing, such as turmeric and ginger, with garlic being in some of her green juices, to make sure that we are maintaining the organs on the inside, because little did we know we were dealing with a woman who had sepsis, but that is what was helping keep her alive, basically.
Turmeric, ginger, and garlic are the superstars of the anti-inflammatory world, guys. Yes. Yeah, so if you're fighting infection, turmeric, ginger, and garlic are the superstars to reduce inflammation in the body. Yeah.
So that was really the plan that we took, and then we started to apply the different poultices on the outside to then start dealing with the infection of the foot, or the gangrene rather.
Awesome. So let's go into the poultices, the outside now. So you're fighting the infection with herbs and with garlic, ginger, turmeric, with a clean diet, detoxifying, drinking charcoal in the morning, fasting, which is all another great way to detox. Someone asked a question. Okay, yeah, we definitely could hook you up, Dennis. If you looking for a diabetic array of meals, we have that. And let me just pause and say, anyone who's interested in getting a program of meals that are whole food plant based, we provide that for no charge. Best way to get that, if you're not already in our Facebook group, is to simply shoot me a private message with your email. I'll email it to you. Or if you're comfortable with leaving your email in the chat right here, you can do that. However, I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it again. So however you're watching, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, message me privately and in the chat, and then to make sure that I can get those recipes and those meal plans for you. We all talk about at the end too how you can join the Facebook group where we have it access to it at the top of our Facebook group page. Yeah. So yeah, so now we're going into the poultice. Yeah.
So we contacted the podiatrist. Actually allowed us to understand after multiple video calls what state the foot was actually in, and so Maimon Wilson then guided us in what to use for the state that we were in. So we were doing sugar poultices, which was literally putting her foot in a bag of white sugar with iodine on top of it. And we would use that during the day.
So I think we're having poor internet connection. All right, Kitran, you paused. So
now I must say we at this. Am I still here? Lost connection.
If you lose connection and drop off, I'll just put you back on. Yes, and then so if you don't mind, just kind of starting. And by the way, if I don't know if you mentioned it, Kitran's calling all the way from Aruba. All right, a beautiful island. All right. But usually, yeah. Can you start back maybe from the beginning a little bit? Yeah, rewind a bit.
So we called the podiatrist. We had a few phone calls with him, video calls, especially looking at the foot, for him to explain to us what we were actually dealing with and the extent of damage that was done by the gangrene on the foot. So he was a bit like,
we may have to repeat some of the things we're missing if because I think the connection might be choppy. But thank you guys for your patience so far. And for those of you guys, as Kitran is catching up, lagging a bit on the internet connection, you're back?
Back.
Okay. So we're gonna keep rolling. Someone did ask a good question, Jeremy. Thanks for your question. Can you advise really quick how often to consume the charcoal?
Well, you don't want to consume it frequently. It's really, especially when you're going to do a detox. We use it as well for heavy metals. You would consume it. Don't get me wrong on the measurements. I could probably get that back to you, and you could probably add it somewhere for them. But about, I would say if you are doing an intense detox, 3 days is max, because it also needs to be consumed with a lot of water.
Okay, so just 3 days, and it was just a drink that you would drink in the morning and on empty stomach before consuming food, right? Gotcha. So 3 days. That's a good answer. So yeah, going back to the poultice. Yeah.
So we contacted Brother Maimon Wilson, and he guided us with the different poultices that we could use to apply to the foot to start debriding one and also closing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And the poultice usually, I'm guessing, it's a dressing, and on top of the dressing you would put you did say, you mentioned charcoal, and whatever. And what else would you put on the poultice?
So for the first time when we did start touching the foot to deal with it, we applied charcoal. However, we didn't use charcoal long, because what charcoal did, and you would see in the other pictures, is it started to take off the dead flesh.
Okay.
And so we held up on that a bit and started to then apply sugar combined with iodine onto the foot to also start dealing with that healing process. Which then later moved on as the flesh was starting to, can be less gruesome than what it is, as the flesh was now detaching from the foot. We started to use Manuka honey and turmeric, and this
you guys
was
taking notes. This is some gems. Some I mean, the sugar and the iodine, that's something I have to look into. That's something that I've never heard. You use the gauze, like non-stick gauze, or?
So with the sugar and iodine, we literally placed her foot in a bag with sugar and iodine and applied it, actually packed the wound. Yes, and tied the bag, because guess what? If you didn't know, gangrene stinks.
Gangrene stinks, you said. Okay, so you were covering that stent. Yeah, I know. I've seen. Yeah.
Attracts flies. So we were very precautious.
All right, we'll have to be patient with Kitran's internet connection, and she just dropped off. I'm going to put her back on. So thank you guys for your patience here. All right.
Okay. Yes. What did I miss? What was the question?
So yeah, you're talking about how bad gangrene is, and that you're bagging it. So
yes.
And then so we went to the iodine sugar combination. What was the second one?
We applied Manuka and turmeric.
Manuka and turmeric.
This one, and we would apply this at night. This is what you call, I give it a name, antibacterial.
Okay.
You put that on the foot, and it keeps the bacteria away while also healing.
Okay, awesome. Someone asked a question of something I would hope someone was going to ask this. Why sugar? Because it sounds like counterintuitive, like,
Right. The same thought I had. Why would you use sugar on someone who has diabetes and we thought stay away from the sugar, but actually what it helps the foot do, it draws out, how to explain it in a way that's simple, it draws out, my mind going blank, it draws out what we're dealing with, that infection, the helps the tissues actually to start healing, combined with the
drawing out. Well, one thing we have to understand too, when your foot is as gangrene, I mean, you're talking about a level of necrosis. Necrosis is dead tissue, where there's almost no blood supply, right? Or very limited blood supply. There's no blood going through that area. So whatever you apply on that, you're trying to draw out the infection, the debris, the dead white blood cells that's fighting it. And basically, someone mentioned that sugar is hypertonic. So it's by osmosis is pulling some of that, the bad stuff you don't want in that area. You're not getting a rush of sugar into that into your bloodstream by putting it in that area. There's hardly blood in that area to begin with. But that's why. Yeah. Thank you for that scientific word, hypertonic substance.
There we go. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So then we would apply the Manuka and turmeric, but now
Manuka, I'm not familiar with that. What is Manuka?
Manuka is a honey.
Okay, it's a type of honey.
And it's not just your regular type of honey. It's one of the honeys that have high healing, what you call it, high healing potential. Let me put it, because I can't find the word. The healing propensities in this honey are very high.
All right, okay.
And so we use that with the turmeric to put on the foot.
Awesome.
But this combination she couldn't tolerate long, so we didn't use it long. Now you're feeling as you go, because sometimes the person can't tolerate what you're putting on the foot, so it means you would have to change the method that you are working with the foot. And that's where we started to then apply powder poultices, which work better for her.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else you did that yeah, we need to know about?
No, we made sure she was going to the bathroom. One,
Okay.
no constipation, we can't afford it. Make sure she had proper urination, and that her diet stayed stable throughout the entire course.
Of course. Awesome. So man, this is good stuff. So before we go into the before and after pictures, so I mean, I know one problem you did have is that she didn't always follow your advice. Was there a problem? I know that can be frustrating too, you know, obviously, when you have an extreme state of health like this. Was there things that she was doing wrong that maybe made things worse for her?
Yes, and that's what we're dealing with at the present. It wasn't so much in the beginning as the pictures would demonstrate. However, sticking to the diet, especially the plan, just call it a plan that was given, is very crucial when dealing naturally, and especially for the extent that her foot was in, because it would ensure that because inside is okay, the outside is going to be okay. But once you start messing up with what you're taking, what you're eating, if you're not taking in sufficient water, then the body automatically tells you, hey, you know, there's a problem. And I started to realize that after I took a trip. I had to go and do some mission work abroad, and left all the instructions. But you know, when your teacher is not in class, then you tend to do all that you want to do, and then as soon as she comes back, you start applying yourself again.
Yeah,
that's basically what happened.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So Juliet asked a good question. How often were you doing the poultice? We know we're doing the Manuka, honey, and turmeric at night, right? And then
the poultices, after we moved from the liquid-based items, we were doing poultices every day, twice a day.
Every day, twice a day. Okay, awesome. Good, man. I'm sure we're gonna have a way to reach you guys. You know, if anyone has questions, so you guys know that we're here for you. We'll provide our emails so that you can keep in touch and address any individual concerns. So I don't know if this is a good time maybe to transition to the before the progress of this wound, and
let's look at it.
Look at it. Someone asked why couldn't she tolerate the Manuka honey turmeric poultice? Is there a reason why she couldn't tolerate it?
I believe she was feeling a burning sensation, the combination of both of them to her. You know, so
yeah. And so you know, before I show these pictures again, you know, you're looking at a foot basically that has unviable flesh, meaning it has tissue that is dead. Okay, and this is a difference between natural medicine and conventional medicine. Conventional medicine, when you talk about, or interventions, conventional interventions are about finding quick solutions, right? So if you think about medications, you take medication so that your sugars can go down right away. You have a headache, you take Tylenol so the headaches can go away right away. We want instant relief for a present pain. That's what conventional medicine does. Think of surgery as your most extreme case of instant intervention, instant results, right? Something is infected, you cut it off, infection's gone, right? Natural medicine is completely opposite. Natural healing, and when you're relying on a change of diet, when you're relying on healing the body from within and allowing the body to do its own miracle wonder, we are fearfully, wonderfully made by God. It takes what, Kitchen? Time. It takes time. It's not quick. It's not easy, but it takes time. It takes persistence. It takes consistency. And you'll see that basically what happened over time is the foot started to amputate itself. And in the sense that she did lose her toes, but she kept her leg. and the majority of her foot stayed intact. But toes, you're gonna see pictures of her toes literally falling off. So I'm warning you guys. I'm warning if this kind of stuff, you maybe go get a drink, go to the bathroom real quick. You might be going to do probably next 5 minutes. We're going to show the pictures for about 5 minutes, and then we'll close with just maybe a statement of how to reach us. But someone asked Dennis, did she believe you when you told her that her meat diet was causing insulin resistance and the death of her cells? Yeah, did she believe that? That part?
She had no resistance.
Yeah, she had no resistance. She was ready. I mean, someone just told her she was going to die if she didn't get her leg cut off. So I think she was pretty open. All right. So we're gonna see the progression of this this foot and this wound as it progressed from basically necrotic tissue, dead flesh, to at the end you'll see it's still, of course, it's not the best stories would be that she kept all her toes. She didn't. She did lose some toes, but knowing that she was going to lose her life, that's a small thing to sacrifice. So I think we're going to start. It's going to start on the first slide, and let me see here. Let me go ahead and go to the slideshow. All right, so Kitchen, tell us what we're looking at here in this first picture.
So this first picture is the foot that we were presented with. Actually, a little after the first charcoal poultice was applied, I was trying to rummage through the thousands of pictures that we actually have of this foot and could not find the one where her foot was actually swollen and almost had that glowing effect on it, on how swollen it was. However, after the first poultice of charcoal was applied, this is what it started to do with the foot. And so it's showing us actually, especially if you look at the bottom of the feet, the problem areas that we were going to encounter. Little did we know.
Yeah. So it was looking even worse than this.
Well, this looks good.
Okay, yeah. And also I should say too, from a medical perspective, we would know that when a foot is at this state, what you're worried about is basically osteomyelitis. That's when the infection gets to the bone, it travels quickly to the whole body through the blood. So this is what the doctor said, that in saying you have days to live, or if not weeks, if you don't get this foot cut off, because at this point it's without question that infection. She was septic, right? Infection is already streaming through her bloodstream, is down to her bone. In the safest measure was to amputate. She refused to. All right.
So on the second picture, you'll see as well. So that was the back of what the charcoal did. And the second picture is what the charcoal did on top. It's exposing that tissue that is already gone. It doesn't want to be a part of this body anymore. So you have now tissue detaching from dead tissues.
Dead tissue detaching from living tissue.
Yes, correct. Okay. Thank you.
Keep going. Yep.
Yes. So as we started to apply the different poultices, as well as using the sugar and iodine, as well as, I didn't mention it, we were actually washing her foot every day for some time with fresh salt water.
Okay.
So we would go to the beach, get some salt water.
Aruba's beautiful beaches.
Yeah, and boil that water a bit, that it's warm, and we would soak her foot in this.
Okay. All right.
And this is how we would go by cleaning it, at least in the first stages.
Hold on, I think I got a message that they're not seeing the pics. Let me go back here. So I apologize, you guys, if you guys aren't seeing the pictures. That is unfortunate. Let me see if I could fix that, because yeah, I really want you guys to see this. All right. I know why. It's my fault. Okay. Let me go back. You guys are probably seeing it now. And
okay. So let's go back to the first pictures.
Okay. You guys seeing it now? Hopefully. Someone say yes in the chat if you're seeing the pictures.
They should be seeing it now.
I know you and I are seeing it. I want to make sure everyone else is. Okay. This is the first time. Okay, someone said yes. Yes, we're seeing it. Okay, good. So sorry for that, but we're going to start from the beginning again. I guess this was the first picture that showed when you first started working with her, right?
Yes, one of the first pictures. So this was actually the second day of us meeting her once again and applying the charcoal poultice.
Okay, and summarize this picture. What was happening?
This is as well the front effect of what the charcoal poultice did on the first day.
On the first day. So basically the dead tissue is starting to detach itself. This is what I meant by saying almost like a natural amputation is occurring.
Yes. And so as this goes on, the body is now rejecting the parts that it can't use. And so she lost, in this case, 4 of her toes, sorry.
Yeah, okay. Move on?
So, yes, you could go right on.
Okay.
And so this is just a close-up of the self-amputation that the body was doing. Fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right, the body's amazing. All right,
and this was the bottom side of what was actually happening as well.
You can see, yeah, because you couldn't see the bottom in these pictures. Now we're seeing the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you actually go back to the first picture that was shown,
yeah,
you see the red splodges.
Yeah.
That was also a green light, like, hey, all of this area here is also infected. So a closed foot did not seem, from this little spot here beneath, below the toes that was infected, because it wasn't well taken care of. Now you have an entire foot almost going lost because of that.
I should say this as well. She was not really complying with your advice to stay off that foot. She was on her foot a lot.
Yes, she was. So at this point, she was bedridden for quite a few months.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
So this is what we're dealing with. And I must say that at some point in time, we did experience worms before the foot started to actually detach or self-amputate. And we were advised that, okay, the worms are also there to clean up the dead flesh. So don't be afraid. Because I was like, no, we got to carry out, they got to take this foot off. You know, I was joining them doctors. They got to go with this entire thing. But we were instructed by their brother, Maimon Wilson, that worms are a sign that they're coming to clean up the dead tissues and go away with it. And so we had to just bear the process.
Yep.
So we were looking at this every day. And at this point, too, the podiatrist was also guiding us to understand how to properly clean and attend the wound.
Okay. Can you tell us how you were cleaning the wound again?
So we were using peroxide.
Okay.
We would wash the foot off with peroxide and then gently with a gauze pat it dry as much as possible. And then we would go ahead and apply our powder poultices.
Okay.
And that led us, obviously these poultices are there to, one, help finish the debriding of the foot, as well as start helping produce new flesh. And as you're seeing this, the dead toes and this under part of the foot looking horrible, it's actually protecting the new flesh that is underneath, that is coming out.
Wow.
And so that's, as we see in the next picture, where the foot self-amputated and literally the toes detached on its own. We didn't cut anything off. Everything fell off on its own.
All right. Go to next.
So with much, now the treatment was a bit more easier because now the poultice, now to help close the wound, was being applied twice a day, making sure the foot was properly covered, no walking, and this was the result that we started to get, which was the foot closing.
The closing, yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of the same, right?
More the same, and obviously this is when I left, and this is vegan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's what we're dealing with.
No. So yeah. Pretty amazing stuff. Viewer discretion was advised. I believe we advised the people from the beginning. That's hard to see, I know. And this again is an extreme case. I'm sure none of us, hopefully no one watching has their foot in this state. But I do know that there are stages to this, right? It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
Right. So, but for those of us who are in any stage of diabetic foot ulcers, what are these treatments or suggestions something we can do at home?
Change the diet. Really, start working on the inside. It really makes a difference on the outside, because besides dealing with the toes and all that was detaching, even on the leg, there was sores that were starting to open. And obviously, with the change of diet, you saw that they started to close themselves, and we helped along with that process by adding myrrh to the foot, because I would massage it after each treatment. You saw that the wounds on the foot, the legs started to close up beautifully. That today she doesn't have any.
So yeah, some people, there's some great comments. Juliet saying amazing, praise God. I agree with you, Juliet. Dennis is saying, wow, she must have been feeling so ill too. Yes, I believe she was. And Dennis asks if she didn't get well. To answer this question, she was asking if she had infection in the bone, osteomyelitis, and at this point she was not seeing the doctor anymore. So the doctor already told her she was septic. It's very likely that she had infection all even to the bone, which should have been life-threatening. She should not be alive today. This really is a miracle, a story of redemption, but also a nod to the power of natural remedies. Okay. So this is key to understand. Doesn't mean you should not talk. Just let me check myself out the hospital and go find End Time Ministries.
Don't do that. Because you'll be here for years.
I can't emphasize
As I said, it's 2 years.
But there are things you can do, like Kitchuan said, changing your diet, eating a plant-forward diet, a plant-based vegan diet, allowing your body to heal from within by providing it proper nutrition, right? You can also obviously use charcoal if you start to have ulcers in your feet to help detoxify. You can apply some of the poultices. It's very involved. This whole program is involved. So can you tell people, Kitchuan, how we could contact End Time Ministries if you want to have consultation with you?
Oh, you could definitely contact us at our email, which is endtimeministries. I don't know if it could be placed somewhere. endtimeministries144@gmail.com.
Gmail.com. And I'll put it in the chat here, just typing it in. All right, so that was, and make sure I spelled it right. End Time Ministries 144@gmail.com.
Yes.
All right, so it should be showing up there.
We do also have a website, I must say, which is www.endtimeministriesaruba.com. Okay. So you could also find us there.
So the same End Time Ministries
Aruba.com.
I'll put that in as well. End Time. So that's the email you're seeing on the screen here. You could also just check the website at End Time Ministries
Aruba,
because that's where you guys are located.
Yes.
So jealous. That's not a bad place to minister. No. So End Time Ministries Aruba at gmail.com. Sorry, that's the website .com.
Yes.
All right, tell me if I wrote that right there.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, good. So that's how you can reach End Time Ministries, guys. If you want to get contact Diabetes 180, it's very simple. Just find Diabetes 180 on Facebook. You could also private message me or email me, and it's I'm giving a lot of information here, but hopefully you guys are writing this down. My email is lewis@lewisburtis.com. Right down here. So it's my first my first and last name. This by the way will be available for replay. So definitely will share the link. If you have any family, any friends that need this advice, need this help. Um, I think as a great takeaway, prevention.
It's better than cure.
An ounce of prevention is better than cure. Please don't let your foot get this bad, of course, to begin with. But just know that there is power in prayer and faith and doing things as we believe them naturally, as we have been provided so many wonders in this world for this wonderful body to heal. All right. So, Kitchen, thank you so much for your time. And yes, man, almost an hour, man. I was not expecting to. Actually, I had a feeling it would go an hour. So, you guys, again, thanks for watching. Reach out to us, Charlotte, yet with a Aruba flag. All right. Reach out to us through our emails if you have questions, if you need assistance and support with your diabetes, meal plans, recipes, or just advice for your foot. Yeah, we'll look forward to hearing from you. All right, you guys have a good night.